All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. Jack left town. Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
What was that ruckus? What ruckus? I was just in my office and I heard a ruckus.
Describe the ruckus, sir.
Does this mean we're not friends anymore? I'm in my prime.
Out of your mind. Ain't it cool?
First you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me. Blow. Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
What up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you in Metal Radio Podcast. Getting ready to do another unveiling unboxing of something I recently got, as well as do a reaction video to a video I saw. It came out about a day or so ago, ranking the 20 most powerful versions of Godzilla. So I'm going to go through that in a little bit, give my commentary of whether or not I agree or disagree. Could agree with all of it, may disagree with all of it. Who knows? But I talked about this a little bit when I did my Christmas unboxing, my merch and haul from the Christmas, and I talked about how way back when I sent out a request to my mother-in-law for the Super 7 Godzilla -1, and she, like I said, the wires got crossed or whatever. She never got the actual item. She got me something else, but she did give me some other cool shit. We saw the shirts. We saw that. I took a video of that little diorama with Godzilla and the lights, and she got me that. That was actually specifically made for me. So that's a very cool thing. So she thought outside the box, even though she didn't give me initially what I asked for. Luckily for me, Ultimates made more of the -1, because initially I remember on the first run they sold out fast, and this is why I was always asking Neko, like, did your mom get it, did your mom get it, did your mom get it? And you know, she could never get a direct answer from her mother whether or not that was the one she got. So needless to say, they didn't do another run of them. I did order it and I did get it. I haven't taken it out of the box yet, as far as like the actual box it came in, but when I do, it's a pretty good size figurine. So it's probably gonna go right here. I'm gonna have to probably move Ash back there somewhere else, but move these little ones. Like I got Shin here and then the smaller Godzilla here, so I'll probably move them down maybe next to Jaws or something. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you, because the box is really cool. So I may just keep the box and put it up there somewhere. Maybe move the Hollow Earth one back a little bit, and then display this one a little bit, even though you can't really see it up top. But I really dig the box too, so that's kind of cool. So we're gonna go through. Here you go, and you can see now with this finger here, but on the other side, there's an alternate head with the open mouth. So I'll give you a little bit more. And probably when I do another video somewhere, I'll when it's out and put together, I'll show more people. But dude, the box is pretty lit. Like it's like good shit, man. I really dig it. Very creative. But yeah, I said fuck it. I'm gonna get it myself. My own Christmas present to me, and very happy with that. Can't wait to get it out and put it up and display it. But yeah, I thought that was fun. I really enjoyed that. kind of wish my mother-in-law would have got it, just because it would have been. I could have shown her like, yo, you nailed it, you know. But she did give me a lot of other cool shit, so I can't complain. She always gives me a lot of Bronco stuff, and you know, this time around, I just kept saying Godzilla, 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 and she did go out of her way to give me a lot of Godzilla shit. So she got me that Godzilla old school 54 shirt, and then she got me I think it's Godzilla 85 that she got me, but then the other one was a Space Godzilla, which, you know, a little bit small, but, you know, I'm still trying to lose some of this weight, so I'll get into it. Okay, so anyway, there's this site called watchmojo.com. They usually do a lot of like movie clips. Sometimes that's where I grab stuff from, or news clips or whatever. And so they decided to do a top 20 most powerful versions of Godzilla, which, you know, we'll see how this goes. I don't know how much, I don't want to say expertise, because it's all subjective when it comes to entertainment and your opinions on anything, including mine. But I didn't expect this from their website per se. So, but we'll see how they go, and we're going to go through it. I might pause it a little bit just to comment on whatever I feel they're saying or not saying about some of my own opinion on it. So let's check it out and go through the top 20 most powerful versions of Godzilla.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the roughest, toughest, and baddest iterations of the Big G. Number 20, Zilla, Godzilla. We know what you're about to say, to which we'll counter, we know, and that's why Zilla is at the bottom of this list.
We've lost Echo 1 and 2, sir.
Echo 4, where is target?
This star of the 1998 American Godzilla was so poorly received that Toho decided to make it canonically separate, complete with a new name. Still, we can at least admit that Zilla's comparatively diminutive stature makes it among the fastest alternate versions of Godzilla. The tiny baby Zillas that create havoc within the movie also make their parents a danger to New York City. Yet the fact that the rampage of Zilla is effectively kiboshed by some regular old military weapons speaks volumes to its lower tier status.
Well, I mean, there's, what we have, about 33 or 34 movies of Godzilla now. I'm not going to get into the argument whether or not this is Godzilla. We all have had our opinions about this. It's not my version of what Godzilla is. I do give credit to Devlin and company for thinking outside the box. They tried something different. They came with a new approach. Some of that approach is something that was, you know, somewhat touched on in 2014. Just 2014 did it much better. But sure, it was faster, but again, it's more of an iguana or a dinosaur, another type of kaiju. I think a lot of people now agree that if this had been called anything but Godzilla, it'd probably been fine. You could have called this shit Cloverfield, and we would have probably been happy about it. You know what I mean? Because we were like, oh yeah, it does kind of look like Godzilla, but it's not. But it's its own creature, and that's kind of how you have to kind of approach it if you're going to enjoy the film. I saw it in the theaters. Not near as impressive as Independence Day for me, but at the time when I wasn't even really keeping up with Toho that much because I hadn't seen many of the stuff coming out at that time, I was excited. I was like, oh, cool, another Godzilla film. This is great. And I liked Independence Day, so I thought, well, it's in good hands. And, you know, again, they thought outside the box, but overall, I thought it was a little bit too stupid in terms of the character plots. And of course, Godzilla not really being Godzilla in any way other than by name. The other thing you mentioned, you said parents. Now, the thing about this particular version of Godzilla is that it was unisex, so it didn't need a male or female to procreate. So I don't know why you said parents. It might have been just a slip of the tongue. But again, as we talked about with the little miniature Zillas, that was another issue with the movie itself, is that it came a little bit more too much like Jurassic Park with that. Like the little Zillas reminded a bit too much of the Raptors. So that kind of was a turn off and could have been done with that. And then of course the ending, a little bit more of a traditional, like we're gonna do this kind of like King Kong, we're gonna kill him with missiles and then watch him die slowly, losing his heartbeat, etc. And so it's just not a very great film for me overall. Even though I still have the fucking poster of the leg, which I refuse to hang up. But either way, at 20, I think I could still find probably another one version of Godzilla from Toho that's probably stronger than this one. And then how are you debating it? Because like, how many of the ones from the Monsterverse are we going to see in this? Because Godzilla in the Monsterverse has evolved each time, and so what are we looking at here? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll continue on.
Number 19, DAM Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters. Our primary reason for including this specific Showa-era iteration of Godzilla is simple, really. It's all about that final mash when it comes to 1968's Destroy All Monsters. This battle brings together a plethora of Godzilla flick favorites, from Rodan and Mothra to Anguirus, Kumonga, and Farron the Unbelievable. Number 18, Godzilla Jr., Godzilla vs. Destroya. It took a couple of films for Godzilla Jr. to come into his own as a chip off the old block. It also took the total meltdown of his father in order for Godzilla Jr. to essentially take his old man's place. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 3 from 1993 showcased a cute, diminutive little G that differentiated itself from the Manila of old. However, the climax of Godzilla vs. Destroya in 1995 sees the elder Godzilla's heart go into full nuclear meltdown. Father then passes along his essence to son, reviving Junior to essentially rise up to Heisei status. Unfortunately, Toho never gave Junior his own film to fully flesh out this new status, choosing instead to reboot the franchise.
Yeah, so okay. So my only comments here is that, was that an attempt at the time? Because I've seen this film a number of times now, but the thing that I wondered about, because there's always been this talk about the ending of this film. Now, people can comment and correct me, or if you've read something different or whatever, but Junior dies, spoiler alert, in this film. So obviously when Daddy-O like explodes and melts down, which is horrific, it's a very grotesque scene, which is cool as shit, but you know, Big G melts down, and at the end they're kind of looking at the radiation levels, as all of a sudden the radiation levels are decreasing, like something's sucking it up and taking it out of the atmosphere. So they're like, what the fuck? And then of course you have the two chicks, one of them which has like a telekinesis type or psychic vibe with Godzilla, unable to track him a little bit, able to track him, excuse me. And so she realizes that there's a Godzilla there, probably Junior. I've always assumed it's Junior taking in his dad's radiation and power and then coming to that form there that you see at the very end. And they never did expand on it much, but I think that was because it was part of like a trilogy, which is the way that Toho kind of worked with some things, especially during that time with their films. So, however, there are people that believe that it wasn't Junior that came back, that it was just Daddy-O reforming in some way, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but maybe there's something I've never read about the director who did this and what their interpretation of that scene is supposed to be. But I always assumed it was Junior just because Junior wasn't like destroyed per se. He was just dead because Destroyer had killed him, dropping his ass from a few feet in the air. But yeah, but then I kind of missed that scene where Godzilla's kind of throwing in his essence, but that didn't seem to really revive him at the time. So yeah, just give me some comments on that if you know a little bit more about that scene, or am I right? Is it Junior, etc.?
With Godzilla 2000. Number 17, Space Godzilla. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. We're running a little fast and loose with regards to criteria here, meaning that Space Godzilla technically fits the bill due to its genetic makeup of big G cells.
I would have thought it'd be higher.
The 1994 film Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla offers up a number of hypotheses with regards to how Space Godzilla absorbed his G cells in space. However, it doesn't really matter in the end whether Space Godzilla was the result of a Mothra flyby or Biolante's demise, because what we have is a big bad with energy manipulation powers and badass corona beams. He also poses a huge threat for both Godzilla and Moguera during their tussle. Number 16, Showa Godzilla, Godzilla. It's important to remember that although the Showa era of Godzilla was generally more of a kid-focused monster mash, the OG from 1954 was no joke. This Godzilla was dark, fearsome, and relentless, an analogy for nuclear war that was the farthest thing from the drop kicks and speech bubbles of the 1960s. His atomic breath attacks
It's amazing how the atomic breath has come so many years. There's actually videos out there where someone did through the years for Godzilla's breath, and he's going through each Godzilla and it's showing. It was kind of neat little animation that he's doing with the breath. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. This seems so tame in comparison, though, in terms of his breath. But at the time when it was made, and the special effects and stuff, it makes sense that it wasn't going to be as fancy as we see now with -1 or Monsterverse.
Decimate Tokyo, with the population cowering in fear and running for their lives. This Showa Godzilla started it all and captured the imagination of generations, and did so without fighting any other giant kaiju. Number 15, GMK Godzilla. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters all-out attack. Never underestimate the
definitely
power
the meanest.
Cool look. We just love the white-out eyes utilized here in Godzilla, Mothra,
Zombie
and King
Godzilla!
Ghidorah, giant monsters all-out attack. It lends this Godzilla a fearsome and frightful look honestly unlike any other of its brethren. This Big G also retains a nasty mean streak, both with regards to the human casualties and its kaiju victims. The sight of Baragon struggling to get away from Godzilla during their encounter never fails to tug at our heartstrings. Meanwhile, the GMK Godzilla's size, strength, and IDGAF attitude really places it among the toughest of the Millennium era.
See ya, bro. Never had a
14,
chance.
Kiryu, aka Mechagodzilla 3, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla Tokyo SOS. The origins of Mechagodzilla tend to differ depending on which film one happens to be watching. The iterations constructed by aliens don't really fit our criteria. However, the story of Kiryu, who appears in both Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla and Godzilla Tokyo SOS, is a little different. This third Mechagodzilla was brought to life via genetic engineering and the bones of the original Showa Godzilla from 1954. This Mecha G gains sentience as a result of this origin story, essentially behaving and carrying on as the OG Godzilla. Kiryu is a tough customer, utilizing the Absolute Zero cannon.
I wonder if this is where they kind of got the idea for Godzilla versus Kong and King Ghidorah, because obviously in that film they used the bones of Ghidorah to operate Mechagodzilla in that film. As far as a sentient being and all that. So I wonder if that's just kind of where they said, oh yeah, now we'll take this idea and kind of transform it from the King Ghidorah, which we do have a Mecha King Ghidorah in the Godzilla universe as well, but I don't know if it's operating on the same thing.
In battle and assisting Mothra in bringing down the Millennium-era Godzilla. Number 13, Godzilla Ultima, Godzilla Singular Point. There are a number of similarities between how Shin...
Oh, I can already tell now they're probably going to have Godzilla Earth in there because he's like the size of like 50,000 planets.
Godzilla from 2016 slowly evolved into its final form, and this Godzilla Ultima from the anime titled Godzilla Singular Point. The Big G here stands over 300 feet tall and rips through just about anything with a vicious atomic breath attack. The comparative recency of Godzilla Singular Point means that it'll take time before the potential of this Big G reaches the heights of its predecessors. That said, the destruction caused by Godzilla Ultima more than makes its mark as a worthy modern iteration. Number 12, Venom Godzilla, Venom number 37. The folks over at Marvel love having the Venom symbiote merge with just about anyone and anything. This includes Godzilla, oddly enough, which honestly kind of sounds like overkill to us.
Well, it's overkill, but also we're talking about a straight comic here. I don't think there's any animation or live action that's ever done anything with this. So technically speaking, this shouldn't even be added. I think there had to be a better criteria in terms of how you're going to rank the versions of Godzilla, because this one hasn't really been brought to light that I know of through any other source except through the comics. And I mean, you can literally make a comic that has Godzilla unbeatable by anything. And we had Godzilla versus the Avengers, and these are just things I wouldn't necessarily bring to this type of ranking because it hasn't really been brought to our life. Like animation, okay, I can kind of live with that, but as far as like a comic, it doesn't make sense to kind of add something like this because it could go on and on and on and on. I'd rather see something that's been sort of brought to life in some form or manner, my opinion.
The Big G was already tough enough, after all, while the symbiote's history of raw, unpredictable violence is well known by comic fans. This crossover was a fun and well-drawn exercise in wish fulfillment that overpowered the Big G to a ludicrous degree. We also can't help but wonder if the MCU and Monsterverse will ever collaborate to bring such a strange and wonderful team-up to the silver screen.
Personally, because Venom is a symbiote alien organism, I'm not sure that it would even survive trying to imitate Godzilla, because the radiation and the raw energy power that Godzilla possesses would probably burn it into shreds. Like, I don't think Venom would ever survive. The organism itself would not survive in my opinion, to try to like encapsulate Godzilla in any form.
Oh, Godzilla's responding.
Number 11, Heisei Godzilla. The Heisei era. The Heisei period was one that marked a period of substantial growth for the kaiju. While the movies certainly varied in tone, the uniting factor was a continued monster of the week trend. During this period, Godzilla was continually tested by other kaiju that pushed his battle skills and special abilities to the limit. He's also bigger and bulkier than average iterations of the character. And when pushed into a corner, this Godzilla possesses a take-no-prisoners approach to battle. The Heisei take on the kaiju feels like one that won't yield any opposition without one hell of a fight. This Godzilla truly earned the title of King of the Monsters. Number 10, Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla.
See, I'm surprised that Shin isn't higher. It's not. It's one of my more least favorite Godzilla films because it's just too radically different. But this particular version of Godzilla is a serious destructive force, like really, really destructive. Now, the only thing we never got to see, and maybe we'll get one down the road, is how Shin would fare against another kaiju of sorts, another like an opponent, an evil opponent or whatever. Because this one works in a more slow, methodical way. It's. I don't want to say it's dumb. I don't want to say it's not intelligent, but because it just kind of like mopes around, it's aware, but it's more reactive than proactive. So like when they start attacking, it's when it decides it's going to start using its arsenal of weaponry, which is very, very destructive. Like it's incredibly crazy how awesome and powerful it is. So I'm just surprised that they left it this far down on the list.
This variant of the kaiju is certainly impressive, at least on the surface. It helps that this G-Man had the ability to evolve over time. As a result, it grew in size, stature, and power throughout the story. By the end of Shin Godzilla, the monster's atomic breath is awe-inspiring, and his destructive capabilities more than menacing. However, the fact that Shin Godzilla seems to require frequent rest periods makes him a little less intimidating than others. We also haven't seen this kaiju go up against any big beasts. While facing the Japanese self-defense forces is no walk in the park, we'd like to see this Shin Godzilla in more stories to see what it's really capable of. Number 9, Hanna-Barbera's version, Godzilla.
Godzilla, are we glad to see you?
We know what you guys may be thinking. How seriously can we possibly take a version of the kaiju that was created for kids in the late 70s? Well, before you discount him, allow us to give you his resume.
Godzilla can do anything!
This old-school and hand-drawn Godzilla had all the powers and strengths you'd expect from the character. What makes it more impressive was the fact that it was constantly forced to face off against towering enemies. These included the magnetic monster, which clocked in at over 400 feet tall. As a result, the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla has a time-tested mettle, as well as a stature that dwarfs the Showa and Millennium variants. In short, you shouldn't underestimate this kid-friendly kaiju.
That was pretty smart of Godzilla. He used salt water to short-circuit the Colossus.
Number 8, Millennium Godzilla, the Millennium series.
Could be higher.
While this iteration of the Big G may not be the biggest one ever seen, it definitely arrived armed with serious perks. Millennium Godzilla left behind the comical goofiness of the Showa movies and built more upon the strength showcased throughout the Heisei era of films. This version of the kaiju was smarter and more adaptable in combat. At times, it even utilized subterfuge to destroy its enemies. In films such as Godzilla 2000, the kaiju goads a monster into absorbing it. But when Godzilla gets in the right position, it blasts its foe away. It's pretty scary to face off against a version of kaiju with both tactical skills and divine destruction powers.
Godzillaは俺たちの中にいるんだ。
Number 7, minus Godzilla, Godzilla minus 1.
That probably means they're going to have Destroyer way up there.
This bulky version of the kaiju seems to cause pretty standard monster mayhem at first. It picks up trains with its teeth, devastates boats, and effortlessly levels cities. However, minus Godzilla has two distinctive features that make it especially dangerous. This version of the kaiju has incredible regenerative abilities. Even if you manage to find a weapon that can somehow injure it, this minus Godzilla is guaranteed to come back for another round. Its impressive healing is accompanied by its ability to fire an atomic blast that rivals nuclear bombs. Since it does take a fair amount of time to charge up, it might lag a little behind its speedier variants. But make no mistake, minus Godzilla won't hesitate to erase everything it sees. Number 6. Burning Godzilla. Godzilla vs. Destroyer.
Apparently, something is happening there, in the reactor, in Godzilla's heart.
Well, yeah, because he's, on meltdown mode. He's going to be toast. Here's a funny thing, though. So we haven't even got to MonsterVerse Godzilla. So I'm assuming Destroyer's going to probably be up there because that's another variant of Godzilla. And then chances are we're going to see Godzilla from Empire because of how supercharged he was in that. I'm just trying to take a guess. Like, I'm surprised minus one's slow. Surprised that Shin was this low. Because we're on number 7 right now, so like they're still like, I don't know where they're gonna get the rest from.
Ahead of this landmark film, it was announced that the kaiju would meet his end, but few could have expected how his impending doom could have increased his power. During 1995's Godzilla vs. Destroyer, we meet Burning Godzilla. This version of the creature was dying due to the fact that a nuclear meltdown was happening within its own body. While this condition does prove fatal, he gains serious power too. Burning Godzilla has access to a spiral heat ray that is absolutely terrifying. He can also emit nuclear waves and regenerate from serious blows. Additionally, Burning Godzilla's actions are more frantic due to the fear and stress of his impending death. Its abilities and emotional turmoil make it one dangerous kaiju. Number 5. IDW Godzilla. IDW Comics. Like many other popular characters.
Yeah, see, we're again going into comic territory, and to me, that's a little bit of an unfair advantage because none of this has been brought to any kind of animation or live action. So it's hard to really. It's too easy to go in and say this, draw this, and this is good. This Godzilla has wings. This Godzilla can morph into this. I mean, you can do too many possibilities. I'd rather stick with stuff that we've seen put to animation, like video animation or live action. That would be how I'd create my list. Because otherwise, you could just take Venom and this and put them in the top 2, and then nothing else would compare. Because again, it's something you can just easily write in as this Godzilla can do this, this, and this, and this. Which I just think is unfair and doesn't really make sense to add it into a list like this.
Characters, this creature's origins and adventures have been expanded upon in other forms of media.
ゴジラが現れましたね。ゴジラの出てくることは計画に入っている。
The IDW comics built around Godzilla happened to construct a G-Man that had a seriously impressive resume. This iteration of Godzilla shakes the ground, ignores damage, and can defeat nearly any monster that comes his way. The IDW Comics Godzilla also possesses abilities like a nuclear pulse. On top of that, its fusion mode gives it powers and strength on par with burning Godzilla itself. The fact that the IDW version can do what another variant can only do while dying is seriously badass. This Godzilla definitely...
I gotta go back for a minute, because... yeah, so it looks like Kumonga's there, Anguirus, looks like Varan. So this, I'd be interested in this comic because this looks pretty tight. The illustrations are great. I have to check into that. Like, I don't collect any kind of like comics or anything like that, but this would be something that I would definitely pay for. This is some top-notch shit right here. Looks like a destroy all monsters type scenario.
Seriously badass. This Godzilla definitely rules the written page. Number 4. Marvel Comics Godzilla. Godzilla. The Marvel Comics iteration of the kaiju is another expanded universe take that's insanely powerful.
You say I'm Groot? Oh yeah, because it's...
How powerful, you may ask? Well, how about powerful enough to take on heavyweights like the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and the Avengers?
Come and get me, you filthy lizard!
Marvel Godzilla is so overpowered that Mr. Fantastic shrinks the beast down and sends him through time to be safe. This Godzilla stares down superheroes like Thor and the Incredible Hulk without fear. To be fair, it seems as if nothing can overcome G's attack ability and defense.
I am Vision!
Nothing, that is, except for a young man named Robert Takiguchi. He sends Godzilla away via, well, by just asking him nicely, believe it or not. It's good to see that this incredibly powerful kaiju respects politeness. Number 3. Legendary Godzilla, the MonsterVerse franchise.
Whatever Serizawa did to Godzilla worked a little too well, because he's about to explode like an atom bomb.
Roger that. Prepare for landing.
It had been a while since America had nearly ruined the reputation of an iconic character with a disastrous 1998 edition. Fortunately, the MonsterVerse version of Godzilla fixed the mistakes of the past and then some. This legendary variant is one of the largest and beefiest Godzillas in the character's history. His demeanor is also more animalistic and feral than usual in these films.
Jesus. Good thing he's on our side.
For now.
Godzilla's atomic breath, tremendous strength, and ability to supercharge with radiation helps him hunt. He's also bested multiple big bad kaijus. Most notably, he was able to conquer Kong in a one-on-one. Once we saw this Godzilla unseat a fellow royal, we knew we were dealing with a whole new beast. Number 2. Final Wars Godzilla. Godzilla Final Wars.
Listen, kid. There are two things you don't know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
The world of professional wrestling has a term for when performers react to an opponent's maneuver as if it had no effect. This term is no selling, and the kaiju from Godzilla Final Wars is an expert at this sort of behavior. During the Final Wars film, literally everything except the kitchen sink is thrown at Godzilla without any effect.
Godzilla, the most destructive weapon on Earth.
Practically every foe from the past is set against the creature. However, Final Wars Godzilla is so sturdy and resilient that they all barely register as obstacles. Such is the sturdiness of this absolute beast. Opponents like Anguirus and King Caesar get tossed aside like trash. Even King Ghidorah and Gigan never feel like true threats to this ridiculously overpowered and seemingly unstoppable Godzilla.
Actually, though, in that movie, Ghidorah actually gets Godzilla in like another like I don't want to say chokehold, but when the heads come down and start sucking the essence out of Godzilla, which is something we kind of saw in King of the Monsters. Like it took them to shoot a ray through their ship to recharge Godzilla to the point that he can get out of it. So technically, Ghidorah in this film, Kaiser Ghidorah, was able to actually get the better of Godzilla at some point. Now Gigan, that's another thing, but that Gigan is a pretty sweet thing, which I'll remind people Saturday, Mr. Jake Hall and I will be doing another Kaiju Spotlight, and we'll be doing Spotlight on Gigan. So be looking for that episode to be up on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, just he's kind of wrong about the movie. I mean, most of the creatures Godzilla face, he wiped the floor with. But again, you're also dealing with time constraints. You're bringing in a lot of different monsters, and you don't have a lot of time to spend doing like these super elaborate fights. So it really had to come down to the final with Ghidorah, of course. Bye.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the
Godzilla Earth.
I told you.
Godzilla,
I
Planet
told
of
you.
Monsters trilogy.
人間も怪獣も区別なく全てを焼き尽くす破壊の化身
It's the only reason why they would choose this because he's like a massive, like he can. Did you ever see the Cloverfield sequel, Paradox? Like that's basically how Godzilla Earth is. He's about as tall as the sky and the clouds. Like you can't, even any other kaiju on the planet could not conquer Godzilla Earth. Like he's just that huge. It's ridiculous. Now, granted, it's fair because it's an animation that was actually put into animation. So, sure, that would make a list, and it'd probably be number one because there's just nothing that could defeat something that huge.
Here's a question. What happens when a monster is too resilient, aggressive, and unpredictable to touch? If you're humanity in this series, you abandon your home planet completely and leave it all to Godzilla Earth. This godlike being is overpowered to the nth degree. Furthermore, he only continues to evolve after the planet is abandoned. The monster's famous atomic breath turns into a beam capable of intergalactic destruction. Godzilla's size also reaches over 1,000 feet. And when it comes to his appetite for destruction, he's always hungry. Godzilla Earth is a creature that rightfully fears no one. Even the most powerful of monsters and weapons feel inadequate. As a result, he's firmly established himself as an apex Godzilla. Can anything take down
This is where you'd have to use that Loki clip. I need to get off this planet.
Godzilla? Let us know what you think in the comments.
Did you?
All right. So there you have it. Yeah. So, I mean, I would do a different list. It probably wouldn't be top 20. I could probably do top 5 or top 10. And I'd probably personally stay away from animation, even though I could add it in there. But it'd be too easy because, again, Godzilla Earth is just it's even though I consider it inclusive, it's too easy. Like it's just too easy because you could do anything with animation that you really couldn't do with live action. Now you can argue again, Godzilla and Empire was like at his max energy, but it still somewhat was leveled out. He still had to fight to get there, and it wasn't like he was unstoppable. Like, Shimo could fuck him up in some ways, and almost did occasionally. Her power as an ancient kaiju certainly had its strengths compared to Godzilla, but that's one reason why Godzilla had to like power up so hard, because if he had gone in under normal power, he would have been easily overtaken. But give me your thoughts. What do you think about their list? How do you feel about adding in comics? Do you agree with their rankings? What'd you think of my Super 7 -1? I'll probably show that off on Saturday or something before we kick off our Geigen stuff once I get it together. But yeah, give me your thoughts on it, man. And also coming up this week, not a whole lot because we got the New Year's and all that good stuff. But tomorrow, Neko and I are going to go back out and watch Nosferatu. I ran into complications the first time I went to go see it the other day. So we're going to go again when it's the situation is better. New Year's Day, I will be doing my top 10 movies of 2024. And then on Saturday, as I said, Jake Hall and I are going to get together for the Geigen Spotlight on our Kaiji special segment that I've been doing for each certain kaiju. And I'll be doing some more kaiju down the road. But for now, I've got certain ones I'm just taking care of and getting out of the way. But yeah, hit the like button, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Appreciate all the support, and we'll see you next time on the Metal Time Radio podcast.